Let's start with the hard truth today. You're not confused. You're not overthinking. You're not crazy. You just saw the red flag, but you decided to repaint it.
So, before we get deep into this conversation, I've decided to ask some people, some everyday people, some questions. So, guess what? Tune in. We are going to listen to their responses.
Red flag become a deal breaker when the action become recurring and you realize that there are no improvement, no changes, and you start to feel annoyed and frustrated about the situation because you thought that maybe this would change, but you realize that it is not changing and it is also becoming worse.
A red flag becomes a deal breaker maybe 2 months into the relationship because there are clear indications. People can't pretend for long, so you're gonna see their true colors. You do not want to overlook these red flags and say, okay, you know, I probably can cope with it because even though they have this issue, um, they're nice when it comes on to certain things. Overlooking those red flags from early are going to cause additional problem. These red flags will never disappear. So we can be hopeful and wishful and believe that they will disappear, but they won't. So from the first few months that they have presented themselves in the relationship, it's a time for us to just step back and move away. It doesn't even make any sense trying to work through it because at the end of the day, I can assure you that you are going to have more issues.
Thank you so much for this topic. At what point does red flag becomes a deal breaker? Red flag are those mistakes, those characters or behavior, ugly behavior that makes our partners feel insecure to feel insecure in the relationship. Like this thing are lies, womanizing, or whatever, or cheating. These are the red flag. Or even this thing, physical threat. So these are red flag. Yeah, drug abuse, name them. So these are red flag. And when it's supposed to become a deal breaker is when it threatens our mental health, mental well-being. When it threatens our mental well-being, and when it becomes an essential distant pattern, that's when it's supposed to become a deal breaker for me. Yes, because you can't continue to do something that I have complained to you that this thing is not good. I don't like it. You continue to do it consistently, and you expect me to be comfortable with you. No, that's when I will have to, walk away from the relationship. Yes, so ignoring boundaries as well. This is another thing. This thing when you I have communicated to you, I have told you this thing you are doing is harmful to my this thing mental health, and you continue to do it, or even you tend to do it more than you are doing it before. Lack of accountability. So when you don't acknowledge the behavior, or you started this thing behavior this thing blaming me for my reaction. Maybe you do something that I don't like and I reacted instead of you to correct your mistake. You now this thing capitalize on my reaction in order to cover up your mistake. These things I don't supposed to tolerate them in a relationship. So this is my take on this. And do people ignore red flags because they are hopeful, or because they are distant, they are afraid to start over? Yeah, they do the two things now. Yeah, the two things are considered. Some people ignore the red flag or they're hopeful because they think that their partner will change. They think that their partner will change. They will do everything to see that their partner change from that ugly behavior that is not mean bringing peace in the relationship. So there are some people that hope that their partner will change and they will be praying for him to change. That's how it is. And some people also ignore this red flag because they are afraid to start over. Yes, because of what people will say. They tend to ignore the distant relation. What friends will say, what family will say. They tend to ignore the distant red flag. But ignoring the red flag is not the right thing to do. You have to consider your mental health first before any other thing, because it's when you are mentally healthy, that's when you think like when you have an effective thought and do things that will benefit you and your relationship. When you have and you have mental unwell-being, then it means that your relationship will not move as planned. Even your business, it will affect everything, all aspect of your life. The thing will affect it, and the this is potential a rating, or is it just an excuse we create to stay? Yeah, potential is a rating. Potential is a rating. Sure, because if you see someone that has that has potential, then you get to know it. Sometimes we have to give it a chance, no matter what we do today. That's why I say that some people ignore red flag because they are hopeful because of the potential they see in you in their partner. That's why they tend to ignore the this and the red flag. And some do it because they don't want people to laugh at them. Yeah, potential is very important. But in everything we do, our mental well-being is very important. It's most important than any other thing we are doing in life. So I will consider it that this thing we should first of all take care of our mental health than trying to fix what we cannot fix. What is what belongs to us will come to us. What is not ours will never come to us. So that is how it is. This is my take on this topic, and I really appreciate you for giving me the opportunity to end my view on this topic. And I said, may God continue to enlighten you. Thank you so much, and have a nice day.
Okay, I hope that was refreshing. So, what I'm going to ask you to do now in the comment section, I'm going to ask you to leave your favorite takeaway. What did you get from each of those presenters? Which one stood out for you? Thank you. Let's continue with our topic. This is the space
where we talk about relationship, growth, healing, boundaries, and the unforgettable truths that most people try to avoid. And today we are talking about red flags. Not the ones people hide, the ones you actually saw but ignored. Because if you were being honest, most of the time we really knew. Why ignore the red flags? The truth about red flags is this: they are not confusing, they are inconvenient. A red flag is usually clear the very first time you see it. But instead of accepting it, we explain it away. We say things like, maybe you're just going through something. Maybe I'm overreacting. Maybe they didn't mean it that way. And before you realize it, you've just been an entire relationship on excuses. And before you realize it, you've just built an entire relationship on excuses. People ignore red flags for three reasons. First, potential. We don't fall in love with who someone is. We fall in love with who they could become. We look at someone and think they just need time, they just need healing, they just need the right person. But here's the problem. You're not responsible for someone else's growth. And loving someone else's potential while ignoring the reality will keep you stuck. The cost of ignoring red flags. Red flags don't disappear, they grow. That small thing you notice in the beginning, the attitude, that lack of communication, that inconsistency, that disrespect, it doesn't shrink over time, it expands. And the longer you stay, the harder it becomes to leave. And the longer you stay, the harder it becomes to leave. Because now you're invested time, energy, emotions, hope. And people will stay in situation much longer than they should just because they don't want to feel that they have wasted time. But here's another truth. Staying longer doesn't make the investment worth it. It only makes rather the damage deeper. What paying attention looks like. Paying attention to red flag isn't about being negative. It's about being aware. It's about trusting your intuition. Your intuition usually whispers before life starts screaming. And most of the time, the moment you felt something was off, that was your answer. But we override the feeling because we want the story to work. We want the connection to work. We want the relationship to work. But sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is accepting what something is showing you. And sometimes the most powerful thing you can say to yourself is this: I saw it, and the next time I'll trust it. If this message resonates with you, make sure you subscribe to Yonnie Unfiltered. Because here's where we're not avoiding the truth. We are learning from it. So here's the question I want you to think about today. What red flags did you see that you talk about in believing? Because growth starts when honesty begins. And sometimes the most powerful thing you can say to yourself is this: I saw it, and next time I'll trust it. If this message resonates with you, make sure you subscribe to Yonnie Unfiltered, because here we are not avoiding truth, we are learning from it. See you in the next video. Stop chasing clarity.
Scenario 1. Love bombing. Imagine a woman named Alicia who meets someone online. At first, everything feels perfect. Within the first week, the person she's dating is constantly texting. You're the best thing that's ever happened to me. I've never met anyone like you. I can see myself marrying you. They want to talk all day, every day. They send long, emotional messages. They buy gifts early. They want to see her every single day. At first, Alicia thinks, wow, this person really values me. But after about a month, something changes. When Alicia wants space or says she's busy, the person becomes upset. They start saying things like, "You're acting different. Why are you pulling away? Maybe you don't care about me. Like I care about you." Suddenly, the intense affection turns into pressure and guilt. The red flag. Love bombing is when someone overwhelms you with affection too early. The attention feels good at first, but it's often a control tactic. Instead of building a connection slowly, they try to create instant emotional dependency. Reflection, question. Have you ever met someone who moved emotionally way too fast? Scenario 2. Lack of accountability. Story scenario. Let's imagine a relationship between Marcus and Danielle. Whenever problems arise, Marcus never accepts responsibility. If he forgets something important, he says, "You never reminded me." If he says something hurtful, he says, "You're too sensitive." If he does something wrong, he flips the situation and says, "You always make everything negative." Over time, Danielle starts questioning herself. She begins wondering, maybe I am overreacting. But the truth is, Marcus never apologizes. He never says, "I was wrong. I shouldn't have done that." Instead, he always shifts blame. The red flag. People who cannot take accountability will eventually make every problem your fault. Healthy relationships require self-awareness and responsibility. When someone avoids accountability consistently, that pattern rarely changes. Reflection, question. Do you notice when someone always blames everyone else for their problems? Scenario 3. Controlling behavior disguised as care. Consider a situation with Tasha and Jordan. Jordan constantly says things like, "I just want to protect you. I'm looking out for you." At first, that sounds caring. But slowly, Jordan begins controlling different parts of Tasha's life. For example, Jordan questions who she spends time with. Jordan says certain friends are bad influences. Jordan starts saying things like, "I don't like that outfit. Why do you need to go out? You should stay home tonight." If Tasha disagrees, Jordan claims, "I'm just trying to protect you." Over time, Tasha's social life becomes smaller. She stops seeing friends. She starts adjusting her behavior to avoid arguments. The red flag. Control often hides behind the language of care or protection. Healthy relationships allow freedom, individuality, and trust. When someone slowly starts controlling your decisions, it's not protection, it's power. Reflection, question. Has anyone ever tried to control your choices while claiming it was for your own good? Scenario 4. Inconsistent behavior. Now imagine Kevin is dating someone who is extremely affectionate one day, but distant the next. One week, they are loving, attentive, communicative. The next week, they are ignoring messages, canceling plans, acting emotionally unavailable. Whenever Kevin asks about it, the person says, "You're overthinking," but the pattern keeps repeating. Kevin finds himself constantly trying to figure out where he stands. The red flag. Consistency is a major indicator of emotional maturity. When someone's behavior constantly shifts, it creates confusion and emotional instability. Healthy connections feel stable, not unpredictable. Reflection, question. Have you ever dealt with someone whose energy constantly? The truth about red flags is that most of them appear early. The problem isn't that we don't see them. The problem is that we often explain them away. We say things like, maybe I'm being too harsh. Maybe they're just having a bad day. But patterns reveal character. If something feels wrong repeatedly, it usually is. Learning to recognize red flags doesn't mean becoming negative or judgmental. It means protecting your peace, your time, and your emotional well-being. Question. So, I want to ask you something. What is a red flag you ignored that you will never ignore again? The truth about red flags is that most of them appear early. The problem isn't that we don't see them. The problem is that we often explain them away. We say things like, maybe I'm being too harsh. Maybe they're just having a bad day. But patterns reveal character. If something feels wrong repeatedly, it usually is. Learning to recognize red flags doesn't mean becoming negative or judgmental. It means protecting your peace, your time, and your emotional well-being. So I want to ask you something. What is a red flag you ignored that you will never ignore again? Please remember to comment and share experiences.